hello, and welcome to the Rag Company Podcast. This is Comments of the Week.
Hooray! Comments of the Week.
Edition number 3. This is the third time we've done
And
it.
probably the last time we're doing it till after SEMA.
Yeah.
But we skipped a week because, man, it gets
We'll
busy
see.
around here
We'll see. We're going to
sometimes.
see if we can squeeze another one into these.
I suspect
Couple
next
weeks.
week's going to be too busy. But you never know. So,
Hype train.
chair's like
Let's
really
do
high.
this.
all right.
Comments, hype, controversy.
The audience has
There we go.
spoken, though. They like these.
Yeah,
So,
thanks, guys. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for watching, because you know what? If you didn't, we probably wouldn't do this.
All
well,
right.
we might do
So-
it, but, on our own time. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
So before we
don't-
get started, I just wanted to say, Dane, this is an intervention.
Oh, man, here we go again. I thought
want
we were
you to
over
know,
this.
I've got your partner, Anthony, here. We want you to
We
know
all
that
love
the
you very
two of
much.
us
Oh,
really
no.
care about you. And Anthony couldn't be here for our first intervention, so we thought we'd do it again.
Oh,
And
that's
we're
why it's happening now.
Hoping that you will choose to seek
room
treatment
full
for
of love.
your workaholicism.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
Yeah.
So-
Okay.
Dane, your
so-
lawn hasn't been mowed in months.
Your girlfriend has not seen you
Your
in
dog.
months.
Your dog needs
Dog
to be
doesn't
groomed.
recognize me
He doesn't
anymore?
Your dog doesn't know who you are
Yeah.
anymore.
Wow, when that happens, I'll know something's wrong. So,
All right,
all right.
that's been brought to you by Diet Pepsi, Dane's Intervention, coming to you at a town near you.
The choice of a horrible generation. Okay, why don't
All
we
right,
bring up the
okay.
first comment?
First comment. Here we go.
Awesome,
By
guys.
the way, Tim is weighing in as he does
Tim's
on
on
comments
this,
of the week.
which is good.
The voice.
Yeah,
of
you bet.
Tim.
So our first comment is from our new clay products video with Optum.
Oh. Yeah. All right.
That's a great name. I don't troll.
I love this name. You know what's subtle but I like about it? I capitalized don't lowercase troll capital T troll.
And
So
no
it's-
apostrophe.
Yeah.
It's like a real name.
It's
Yeah.
trolling in the name.
Yeah.
So
Kind of weird. Cool.
All right, so
yeah.
found on YouTube channel TRC New Clay Products Detox
Yes,
with
sir.
Ivan and Levi. The question is from I Don't Troll. Roughly how many vehicles can I do with one towel? And when would I know that my towel is spent?
Great question.
Well, Mr. Troll, the towel, we haven't documented it.
Yeah.
But my guess is quite possibly with care, so proper cleaning and, making sure that the cars that you're doing, I'm not talking about heavy contamination, just light, general contamination. You're probably going to look anywhere from about 40 to 50 cars I'd say is a good number out of that.
Sounds reasonable.
If you have some really bad cars and you're trying to do some heavy decontamination with that,
Yeah.
I think it's going to shorten the lifespan because remember, this is a fine grade clay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Also, if you're not cleaning it in between uses, I think as it gets dirtier and dirtier, it's going to get more degradation to the clay.
Yeah.
And honestly, the way you'll know is when it's not removing any contaminants on the
when
surface anymore.
You make a few passes and the surface feels just the same.
Well,
you either got a dirty
Yeah.
Or clay is
or-
missing.
Yeah, clay
Yeah.
starts chunking off and it starts to deteriorate. It's
Yeah.
kind of the best way to put it is like
Yeah.
if the clay is literally just
I'll be
falling
honest though,
apart.
I hadn't even seen that from the ultra clay towel because we're talking about
Yeah.
the ultra.
We're talking
clay,
about the
right?
ultra
Yeah.
clay, and it is one of those that it's surprising. It's amazing how strong and resilient it is. Easiest way to clean it, again, throw some power clean on it, diluted maybe 5-1.
Yeah.
Scrub it with your hand,
Mm-hmm.
dunk it in some O&R, or run it under a sink and wring it out. Pull the little hang tag out, hang it up.
Point is, it's not complicated, guys.
Super simple.
Very
Take care of
simple.
it. Make sure it dries out a little bit before you stow it.
You will get your money's worth many times over with one of those things, just
Yeah.
based on the experience
Yeah.
Anthony and I had the first
Yeah.
time we used it when it was just a prototype. It was like one of one or two in existence, and this thing had already been through the ringer. I
Yeah.
mean, it was beat up every which way. It was slightly discolored, and it performed like it was new.
Yeah, it was very
It was
discolored.
nuts.
I mean, it was not the same blue it was, but I
No.
mean, it's I think it's on a whole different level of clay towel in comparison to everything else on the
Well, compared to the
market,
previous
and
one, for sure.
definitely
I mean,
compared to the previous one.
yeah.
But like Levi said, yeah, 40 to 50 cars, I would have no doubt in my mind, and that would be with normal use. If you're doing light use, oh my God,
may get 100
Twice
yeah,
that.
could be twice that. And then the other thing too is that if you store it properly and take care of it, there's no reason that this shouldn't last you a year, maybe even 2 years in the right, controlled environment.
Yeah, and the case is storable, so you can roll. If it's the towel, you can roll it back up, throw it in the case after it's dried. If it's the mitt, just put the mitt in the clamshell case. Save it.
Yeah.
If you have like a temperature
free of
control,
deer-
if you can just keep it inside your house, right?
Yeah,
if
in a
you're,
cabinet.
If you're just a hobbyist and you're not planning on using it, keep it out of the cold, keep it at extremely high temperatures.
Keep it out of getting dust on it, stuff like that.
Yeah. I picked one up, and that was kind of like, I understand they're more expensive than the other clay towels. I get it. But when I bought it, I'm like, this is an investment that I don't have to
I bought one
invest
for myself
into other
I'm
clay.
doing some cars, and I'm like, this will last me quite a while.
If you're using it at home, you're going to have it for a long time, too.
Correct.
If it's just on your own cars, that's going to go really far.
Yeah, key is just taking care of it.
Yeah. Hopefully that was the answer that you were looking for.
All right, Tim, let's bring up the next.
Awesome. So the next one was on calculating hourly cost. Another D-Talk with Ivan.
This is one
Blake
for Levi.
Presson, $100 an hour. Sweet Jesus, I'd be lucky to build $20 an hour here in Alabama.
Can we put an accent on it? I'd be lucky to build $20 an hour
Presson.
out here in Alabama.
Okay.
I don't want to apply an accent to a guy I've never met.
Blake,
Well, I'm just saying, giving him a southern accent. I don't know.
So $100 an hour, you work up to that. If you're getting $20 an hour, that's good. That's good money.
Yeah.
You work up towards that. And the way you explain to your customers why you dictate the level of education the reason you're charging that much is because of the education that you have, because of the overhead that you have to front. What most people seem to not realize is when you buy a car, that $695 tax, title, dealer doc fee, all that stuff, that is to cover their overhead.
Yeah.
That's what that does.
People look at that and just go, "Oh, that's just a fee they tack on."
They do cover tax, title, but the dealer doc fee, but the majority of that goes to pay the overhead for the building, for the dealership, for the property, for keeping the lights on. That's what that goes to. Usually it's the profit of the car, of the car sale that they use to pay wages and insurance and all that kind of stuff. So if that's what a car dealership does, and that's how they get they've figured out the amount of money they're going to keep for themselves.
Yeah.
Look at other businesses and how they work that. Mm-hmm. Look at a tattoo parlor. Look at a hair salon.
Yeah.
Some of these hair salons, if you own your own hair salon or your own tattoo shop, you rent space to other artists or hairstylists or whatever.
Like a station.
You rent a station to them, and they pay an overhead fee, which is the rent.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the same thing as if you have a shop, you account for the amount that you have to pay in rent. And you basically tell the customer that is, there's a reason I charge this much, because I have to pay for insurance for me and my employees, or insurance on the building. I have to pay rent, water, sewer, trash, all that good stuff. I have to pay for internet. I have expenses that need to be met.
It's not just a paycheck for you.
It's not just a paycheck. Your hourly rate is described because of all the stuff that you're going to pay for. So my shop, we were $50 an hour was the shop rate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And what that meant is if a customer pulled in and just said, hey, I just need to rub this stuff. I hit a pipe or a pole or something. I just need you to clean this section off. They cleaned it off. I got it for them, but I just told my customer it's $50. It's a minimum flat rate,
hour.
$50. And they're like, okay, and if they didn't feel that, they'd go down the street. I didn't have a problem with it, but for my guys to do anything, it was $50. To use 1 hour of our time was $50. Now, I didn't have employees making $50 an hour, but that helped cover it. And usually what we did was that if it was one of my guys that I wasn't doing anything, I just let them keep that money.
Yeah.
That way they could help the customer. Like the here in the North Pacific Northwest, we have Les Schwab. Their slogan is "We come a running."
Yep.
It's kind of what it was. If somebody pulled up, I wanted my guys to go out and help the customer. I wanted the customer to know that somebody was there to greet them, talk to them. And so I'd let my guys keep that money. But the goal, again, is pay what you're worth. And you can incrementally increase that based on chemicals, tools, equipment, training, all that stuff. And if you're trying to figure out a way to charge more, let them know. Well, I use a premium towel. I use Rupes polishers. I've been trained. I am a member of the IDA. I have, You know, we have these certifications under our belt. These are all things that make you stand out amongst the other masses.
And some people will respond to that, and the ones who don't and just want to go to somebody cheap, they're going to do that anyway.
Exactly.
So
and that's the hardest
you
thing for a lot of shops
it's a
to
fear
understand
people have.
is you feel like as an entrepreneur, you want all the cars. I want everybody. I want them all coming here to my shop.
I didn't put it on this.
Only me and one guy.
Yeah, I didn't put the comment in here of a different guy who said, I would never turn down work. But it applies in this case, too.
It's a different kind
like,
of turn down, guys.
Yeah.
We're not telling you to go hungry.
No.
We're telling you that there are going to be customers, and sometimes the customer that's going to beat you up on price is not the customer you want.
A race to the bottom doesn't help anybody.
And that's the thing. You got to learn to stand on it, and if you can stand on those principles where you can almost disarm a customer, and you can tell them. And classic case, I had a friend post recently on social media saying, took my car to this car wash to have them do a hand wash. Charged $30 for it. He said, I would have charged, he goes, I would have paid $50. Well, my shop, a hand wash was $50. Start out.
Yeah.
He took it to a small car wash for $30 and then showed all the scratches that were done by the vehicle and how they didn't care, and this was missed, and this was missed, and that was missed. The point is, you don't know what your customer will pay for. But what you do know is that when that customer comes back because they got crappy quality from the cheaper place, they're going to value, man, if I only spent $20 or $30 more, I would have gotten the job I wanted. And I always explain that to customers. If they come up and ask and say, man, that's too high, I say, that's fine. There's a car wash down the street. You can talk to them. They're probably cheaper, right?
Well, and I see the perspective where people come in where, you know, somebody, say for, Ivan says this a lot, where it's basically presumptuous to assume that a customer isn't able to afford something that you're trying to offer them.
Right.
So you don't go in with that mindset of like, you can't really afford this anyway. And me, I'm always guilty of like trying to lay out every possible bad scenario before I give the good scenario. I'm fully aware. I'm extremely self-aware that I do that when I do these things. I'd be a terrible salesman. I'm bad at that. But it's just like, oh, it's honesty and it's overflowing. But you know what? It's not dishonest to come at somebody with an open mind and just say, here's what it costs, and then wait for them to see how they respond. Instead of just automatically going, well, it's really expensive, and you know, and because some people think that's dishonest, but it's not.
Yeah, but
it's not.
Anthony, you detail on the side at home, and if that customer comes to you and goes, hey man, I want to do this, this, and this, and you give them a price, and let's just say, for instance, you say it's $500, and they go, dude, that's too much money. What's
are you going to say? Friends and family discount?
Yeah. Are you gonna? What you say?
What?
That is the discount.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, like, dude, like this is what it is. I mean, this is kind of what it is. But I mean,
you give it, but you tell them this is why it's going to cost this much.
It's educating them because, like, I mean, I could give them the price and I could just shut up and say that's it. It is what it is, right? But like you said, you know, but then I say, okay, I'm spending this much on product on your vehicle, right? And this is what I'm doing. This is how long it's going to take me, right?
These are my tools. This is my stuff.
This is what I'm using. You're getting the highest end of this, and then you're getting the best house possible. I mean, and it's things like that where I say, oh, okay, you know,
break it down for them,
and they get it. But it's, you know, I've had, like Dane was saying, it kind of threw me off. I've had family members, right, where people are like, oh, you know, that's kind of a lot, and you know, and I'm like, well, you know, I don't know.
Compared to,
like, I'm already giving you like the family hookup, but again, they compare it to, well, why wouldn't I just take it down to like
that car wash?
It's not a car wash.
Why would I take this down to like Fast Eddie's? They can wash the car and wax it for $50 or something.
And you're like, yes,
that. I'm like,
they can, but it won't be the
they
same.
can have 6 guys
thing.
jump on it and get it done, and they'll do this, and this wrong.
Yeah,
and you won't like it.
Maybe they'll do it right. Maybe they'll do it wrong. But, you know, they're using probably cheaper stuff, and they're just working to get the numbers out.
Well, this week I had a gal. She wrote me and said, you used to do my car a couple years ago. It's time again. I wanted to get my Jeep in. And she's a single gal. She's got a Jeep Liberty. It's like forest green, I think, or white. Really nice, black leather. I mean, it's a nice Jeep. She called and just texted me and said, hey, I wanted to do my car again. And I let her know. I said, just so you know, I do this at home, in my garage, on the side. So you have to bear with me. This is what my job is now.
Yeah.
This is when I'm in town. So I can get on it in about 5 weeks.
Otherwise, I can recommend you to
And
one
that's
of
what I
the
said.
local shops that I
Otherwise,
know and trust.
You're more than welcome to call Matt Ward, Lupo Auto Salon. Here's his phone number.
Yep.
He can get you in sooner. If you're willing to wait, this is what it is, and here's the price. Because I'm going to keep it for Saturday and Sunday. Those are the 2 days I'm going to have it. This is the price. Because I'm doing it out of my garage, and I'm doing it at home.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, okay, well, I want you to do it. I can wait for 5 weeks. But I just let it out. I said, this is what's up. So I'm not doing it anymore at my shop. But if you want a shop setting, you want to deal with that, feel free to go to Matt. And it's fine. She may only be $150.
Yeah.
But I let her know, this is what it costs for this. This is what it costs for that. You put the two together, this is what it's going to be.
And loyalty like that is great, but you earn that by being willing to recommend to another shop if you're not available.
You got to be able to be flexible and be able to let people know that they're not getting taken, so to speak.
Right, yeah, and making sure
you
you're
need
clear
to be
about
friends with your customers, and
Yes.
you need to let them know that you're trustful and all that stuff.
Now, one other point that I wanted to make. Now, Anthony, you look like you got something you want to say.
I was going to say, how many other questions we got? Because I know
We
on a time
got a
crunch.
few. I just wanted to point out real quick, because he specifically states Alabama. We're in Idaho.
Yeah.
People don't necessarily think of Idaho as like high dollar, rolling place. The thing is, if you set standards for yourself, you're probably going to achieve those standards if you work to them. You don't have to expect it immediately, but if you're working towards that goal,
we pulled 500 to 1,000 on cars all the time, and
in
300,
Idaho,
300 plus was easy.
So it's not unreasonable.
And for
to expect
years, we
that.
thought it was 150 was the ceiling, that we couldn't go past that. And so we started doing it, and I was like, people are paying this.
And I get regional differences and all that, but at the same time,
They'll pay for quality.
There are going to be people out there, whether you've found them yet or not. They're out there.
Yep. All right, Tim, next question. Sorry that went a little long, guys.
No, it's okay. We'll keep going.
Yeah, that's all right. The next one is from the Bead Maker video.
This one's going to be just like a yes or no.
Yep. So it's a really long one. Hey, Jeep.
All right. So this one is found on the Obsessed Garage Tries Bead Maker for the first time on
that video.
the Rag Company YouTube channel. Our commenter here is Ascar Spotter.
I think that means Arizona Car Spotter.
Okay, AZ Car Spotter. We get a lot of ethnic names, and so I did not want to screw that up if that's what it was. So with that said, he says, okay, so my Jeep isn't coated or protected, but I wash it 2 to 3 times a month to keep the paint as best condition as I can. I can't afford to detail it, but I do have the time to do it myself. It's new and only has 10K miles on it. Can I use Bead Maker after I wash it, even though there is no extra paint protection or ETC? Also, what about getting it on Windows?
Well, I know you know all about getting it on Windows.
So one of the cool things about Bead Maker, Anthony,
Go for
Is
it.
that it can be used on Windows?
and yes, even though there's no paint protection or anything on it, you can use Bead Maker on the surface.
Yeah.
The very first weekend I brought that little $800 truck of mine home, I washed it, and then I sprayed Bead Maker on it. And even though it was covered in overspray and scuffs and scratches and all that,
Didn't matter.
thing was slipperier than a baby's. I mean, it was amazing how slick
Even though
that
it was still contaminated.
Even though it was still
right?
contaminated and
Yeah.
destroyed, it provided shine and gloss. And people thought I had already polished it. I hadn't done anything to it.
They're like feeling
It was just bright red. They're like, wow, this thing looks really good, except for all the dents.
Yeah. So Bead Maker can be a standalone sealant because it is a polymer sealant. It can be used on its own. Doing a heavy first coat is going to ensure that the whole vehicle is covered and that it's going to adhere properly. Following that, like you said, you're washing it 2 to 3 times a month to keep the best in best condition. Now, if that was me, I would do one heavy coat, follow that with using it as a drying aid with every wash. And in terms of protection, I mean, your paint is protected, right? And if you keep up with that regimen throughout the year, as far as longevity of it, it's endless.
nil at that point. It's endless.
It's endless. You're always gonna have protection on it. And so, I mean, if you do that when the car has 10K miles, it's pretty much new, and you keep that up through the lifespan of the vehicle. Bead Maker has UV inhibitors in it. It has a hardening agent in it to actually add that hardness to the paint. to protect it.
It's going to be good.
You know, it's great on windows. You can put it on trim. You can put it on your wheels.
You can actually wipe down your door panels and dashes with it too. I don't know if people knew that, but it's not, safe for plastic on the interiors.
Yeah, it's not like a dressing, but it's like it'd be like putting OptiSeal on your interior plastics, which you can totally do, and that will add UV protection to those plastic itself.
It's pretty sweet.
So that's kind of an easy one. Yes, you can do that without
that answer was yes.
An existing protection.
All right, Tim, next up.
Awesome, guys. So going back to our calculating hourly cost video here.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so back to calculating hourly cost. G. Osiris. Oh no, I
lost it.
So this comment's from G. Osiris. It says, couldn't agree more on everything said in this video, but what do you do when there is loads of other detailers local in my competition charging peanuts? I don't know how they do it, but if I really calculate all these costs and get my real charge per hour, or at least what it should be, I think I will never make it. Nobody will call me because of how expensive I will be and how cheap my competitors are.
Well,
we kind of talked about that.
Yeah,
but we'll
basically,
reiterate.
You shouldn't ever worry about them.
Yeah.
You should only worry about yourself. And if you do have customers, basically don't ever feel like you have competition with them. It's always going to be a race to the bottom because they're just going to try and steal the thing. The goal is to maybe try and reach out to a few of them and meet them. And maybe work at trying to explain to them, hey, guys, if you raised your price, all of us raised our prices. You guys could make more money. And we all could make more money because the more and more that don't do that, all those guys want to make money. That's pretty typical. Everybody wants to make money. And here in Boise, we had the same issue. Yeah. There were guys that charged too little, or everybody thought they could only charge $150.
Yeah.
And the first time somebody started charging $200 and going like, wait, we're actually getting that. Everybody started charging it, and the more and more that folks learned, and the more that we created a little group that kind of talked and explained things. Now it's not uncommon to meet shops and go walk in and it's $500.
Right, but what I wanted to stress at that point was that them raising their prices and stuff like that, that's not them just automatically being greedy and trying to raise their price. What that was basically they need to reach a certain point to match that calculated cost so that they're not losing money every time they do a detail. Because a lot of these guys,
a lot of these guys are.
They don't even know they're losing money, but they are. And then at the end of the month, they go, oh, where'd all my...
Well, and one of the cool things is you can learn from each other. And maybe they're doing something that's making it faster for them to do it that you're not seeing. Or maybe... you're doing something that's working better or cheaper and you're saving some money that you could help them out.
Efficiencies go a long way.
The key is creating that friendship. And it's one of the hardest things to do, but it's one of the most beneficial things is to have those friends and have that community, because as tools come out, as things evolve, coatings, things like that, and just having friends, if they're too busy, you can help them. Or they can refer you and vice versa. You got to learn. Maybe you guys rent a car together and throw down on it, right?
Yeah, well, it's got to be a living wage for these guys because you know what, as Ivan always says, if you're not charging enough and you're just losing money every time you do a detail, at a certain point, that's a disservice to your customers because you're not going to be in business anymore at a certain point, and next thing you know, they're going to have to keep hopping around for like these fly-by-night shops.
Well, and that's the hardest thing is if you think about it, let's say you guys lose your jobs, what's the easiest thing you could do to make money?
Yeah.
Wash and wax a car, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Anthony's way.
So Anthony's got another way, but
jeez, buddy, selling your body already.
To wash and wax cars.
Jesus,
and
Dane.
Any rate,
seriously though, in 2008, this was a big issue. A lot of car dealers, a lot of car salesmen, were losing their jobs because people weren't buying cars, cars weren't selling, dealerships weren't buying new stock. Everything started going down. So the first thing that those salesmen did was go, well, we could start detailing cars for the dealership. They make $125 off these. We could do 10 of those today. Hey, why don't you and I go in on it? Okay. They do it. But what they don't know is how to detail a car properly.
Yeah.
So they do it. They tell the dealership, you know what? You're paying those guys $125. Why don't you just give it here to me and Dane? We'll do it for $75. And the dealership goes, whoa.
Well, yeah, boy.
Yeah, we'll save some money. And we kind of know you guys because you already worked for us as a salesman. Sure, okay. They do maybe 3 or 4 cars for them. All 3, 4 cars come back. The dealership looks at them and goes, well, you can't. You guys didn't. You missed this. You missed this. You missed this. There's still scratches here. Did you guys buff this? Well, we don't know how to run a buffer.
It gets
Well,
real
why didn't
expensive
you-
when you make mistakes.
You didn't shampoo the seat. You didn't. Well, I scrubbed it with some cleaner, but I didn't know I was supposed to
I just
do all
thought-
this. I
yeah.
didn't blow this out. I didn't fix this. There's a ton of issues. So then the dealership calls the shop and goes, I need you guys to come back and fix this stuff. That was very typical. Also,
Yeah.
those little shops disappeared
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
because they didn't have what it takes to run a shop. They didn't know. So again, make
Educate
friends.
yourself.
Educate yourself. Get it with your group of friends, and don't try to compete with them. Try and be friends with them, or don't think about them and work on yourself, work on your business, promote your business, because if you're promoting this is what it costs and you're the name that's out there, it's going to be a lot harder for those little shops, especially when you can say, I'm an IDA member, I do this, I use this, I have insurance, I have this. A lot of those shops maybe don't have that.
Yeah. Friendly competition is good, but you know what? What's even better?
Friendly
having somebody who
competition.
will actually recommend customers to you when they can't take it.
Yep, exactly.
That's awesome.
What's
All right,
next,
next
Tim?
up.
All right, guys. The next comment is from The Easiest Coding with Ivan.
Okay. Grim Vapor 69. All
Green
right.
Vapors 69.
Love
He's
it.
actually vaping in his picture
He
here,
is,
which
yeah.
Not only does he love the Grim Reaper and death, but he loves 69
and vape.
and
Got it.
vaping.
Got
and
it.
vaping.
It's
All right, so-
maybe both. at the
Why
same
don't we
time.
get to what his question says? Or rather comment. With the paint preps, I just can't get over the fact of spending that kind of money for it when I can make an IPA for around $5 a gallon. And that's one of the things we talk about. You know, you can make your own IPA, that sort of thing. But a lot of these brands do have their own IPA, and they're a
Yeah.
little different from one to the
Well,
next.
the reason that it's different than normal IPA is because paint prep is designed to also help self-level gloss coat.
That is
and
a difference.
That makes a big difference than just using the wrong mixture of alcohol. And yes, man, you can make your own. You can get some IPA at the drugstore and you can mix it with some water and you can put it down. The gloss coat's going to work. Now, can I say that the gloss coat is going to last because of your chemistry skills? I can't. However, I can say that if you spend $20 on a bottle or 10, like 15, but whatever it is, on a bottle of paint prep,
It's less
It
than
goes
that.
a
I think
long
it's
way.
like
it goes a
$2,
long way.
yeah.
I mean, you're
you
not
can spray it on the
really-
car, and then you can ensure that the gloss coat's going to last, especially for your customer.
yeah.
I mean, if you're charging, let's say, $150 extra to install gloss coat, $60 for the vial that'll get you 2 cars worth. So you're $30 in that, and maybe you're going to get 2 cars worth out of that bottle.
Mm-hmm.
All in, you're $40 out of your $150 to install gloss coat on top of whatever else you're detailing.
Yeah.
I charge $500 to do gloss coat with the detail. So that's not much. That's $40, man. That's not a big
Well, and
chunk of change.
And other coating companies will have their own dedicated, alcohol
they all
style,
do, yeah, because
stuff.
it
And I
helps
would
bond.
get, if I was doing that coating, any other company's coating, I would get whatever their recommended, paint prep wipe is, because that
you ensure
just
the surface is
they vetted that combination will do the best possible work.
and on a microscopic level.
And I get it. Somebody could have their DIY homemade thing.
Yeah.
That would probably work too, but you can't guarantee it the way you could with the other. Or at
Exactly.
least you wouldn't be able to warranty or insure or anything like
and
that.
I think of it as like a personal guarantee.
Yeah.
If you're guaranteeing your work, like, man, you're going to be happy with this. If you mixed up your own home batch alcohol and you're wiping the car down and you're putting gloss coat and your customer comes to you and says, I don't think it works anymore.
Yeah.
And you go to check it and you're like, it's not working anymore.
all
And you
gone.
call Optimum to go, hey, this stuff I bought isn't working. And they go, did you use paint prep first? And you go, no, I mixed up my own bottle of IPA.
And they go, uh-huh.
That's probably the first failure point. But if you call them and go, man, I use paint prep, and they go, oh, okay, well, here, we'll send you a new vial out. You can reapply it.
I can hear the comments right now. Oh, mighty convenient for big paint prep out there. Just raking in the
but
dough on paint
I
prep.
guarantee you 90% of the chemical companies and coating companies,
Yeah.
they recommend using their prep
Yeah.
first.
And if
That's all.
I detailed that kind of stuff, if I was doing those coatings, I would get whatever one that coating company recommends goes with their coating. I realize, you might spend a little bit
It's
more.
like a two-part
for it, but,
system. Think about it like that.
It's
Step
less
one, step
likely to
two.
hurt you. And when you end up calling that company, if there's any issue with the coating, at least you have the peace of mind to go, well, at least they're not going to fault me for that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
what's
next
next?
up.
Anthony's got the next one.
Yes.
Awesome, guys. Next comment is on our water spot removal video we just released.
Hey, look, even better. Anthony made that video.
All right.
Well, all right.
Okay. So, found down the TRC YouTube channel of the water spot removal. We have Nip Cow Disc. Nipka Disc?
Nip cow disc.
Nip
We'll just go with
Cow
that.
Disc. All right. With
Ka-chow.
some ka-chow. All right. So, I'll hazard a guess and say the wheel acid was some percentage of hydrofluoric acid.
You are correct.
Hydrofluoric acid is nothing to play around with.
Correct.
It can kill you or otherwise do serious harm, which may not be readily apparent.
Correct.
And yes, it will attack glass.
Yes, you're right.
Nothing better for binding with calcium, though.
Exactly.
He's 100% right.
So yeah, he is right. I mean, like I don't. This isn't really a question. Is this just a?
No, this is a comment that could lead us into a conversation.
Oh,
about
okay.
this
So
because
the boys said when Dane and Anthony were doing this video, Dane put in the description, caution.
Yes.
Anthony even said, got my gloves on, got a respirator on.
Should have a respirator
No, he
on.
didn't have a respirator on. He had glasses on,
I did have glasses on though.
but you didn't spray it on the surface. You
Correct.
sprayed it onto a towel.
onto a towel, yeah, and I sprayed it really close to the towel as well, so I wasn't gonna have any overspray. I kind of choked a little bit there for a second,
But those are you went about the safe methods.
correct, yeah. So
Then he rinsed it, which you guys didn't see, but he rinsed it
Yeah.
and clarified the surface with either some ONR or you can use ammonia, Windex, to clean
Yeah.
the surface after aciding.
it just a lot of people are asking, like when they asked what kind of wheel acid, like what do you mean, like what brand of wheel acid, what kind of wheel acid?
people want the specific
and-
because they love the result
Yeah.
they saw.
Correct,
So,
correct. And so the thing is could you do this with one example that people posted was McGuire's wheel brightener?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it's a wheel cleaning acid. Yes, you can use that. You can use that. And the really the biggest difference comes down to the concentration of some of these acids. Some dilute 20 to 1, some dilute 10 to 1. McGuire's wheel brightener dilutes 4 to 1. We were using a product that is pretty close to that 4 to 1, 5 to 1 ratio that we diluted 2 to 1.
And we do not sell wheel acid, guys.
No, we don't. And so, I mean, it was pretty simple. Again, we're spraying it on a towel, we're wiping it off, but you do have to be careful. You can't spray it on a
Seriously.
glass because it will burn and make a mark in that glass. That
It etches the glass.
You can't get that out. Yeah.
How are your knuckles, Levi?
They're pretty rotten. So that's one of the things. Hydrofluoric acid attacks calcium, and there are many years that I've been using hydrofluoric acid, and I guarantee you there'll probably be some weird cancer that gets me. Either
Let's hope it's not for a
respiratorily
while.
or in my bones because of the amount of hydrofluoric acid I used over the years. So I cannot stress enough respirator, gloves, and eye protection because that is a very, very, very caustic, damaging material. But most professional detailers know how to use it and use it very well and have been using it for years. It's one of the things I used to teach in my shop. That was one of the first products I had to teach kids how to use.
But you don't want somebody
Because
using
I don't
it
want
the
them.
wrong
I
way.
don't want them just grabbing it, not knowing. And I said, "This is the first thing we're going to show you is how to use this product, and here's what you're going to do." And they were like,
Yeah.
"Huh?" And I was like, "I don't want to scare you, but as long as you're taking the right precautions, I can show you what this product can do, and it can help a lot."
Even still, with all the protective gear and everything, you're still playing the odds and stuff. You know, it's something.
Yeah, I mean,
it's
you can
gonna
damage a
eventually-
customer's car.
Yeah.
So I always recommend that, if you've never used acid before, find somebody who knows how to use acid the right way.
Because I know there's a lot of people watching this video, and
Yeah.
I bet a lot of them who are doing it, the ones who know already knew, but then the ones who are watching this going, "Oh, that's what I need to get rid of water spots in my car."
No.
There's a reason there are other products that are less caustic, less harmful.
Well, and that's why we carry
MDR
MDR.
has a purpose.
Because MDR is safe, and you can use it. It does have a little acid in it, but it is a safe way to remove mineral deposits.
Nothing to the degree that wheel acid.
And that was the reason. My wife said, "I want you to find safe products because you've been using unsafe products for many years."
How you found Optimum.
Yeah, and that was why. I've got 2 little kids at home. I'm 38 years old. She's like, "I need you around, so I need you to stop using those products." So,
Yeah.
those.
So we made Anthony do it.
Yeah, so I let Anthony do it
Hey,
because I don't
hey.
want to
Just
touch
kidding,
his
he
stuff.
volunteered.
He's got fresh lungs.
Yeah, what's going on, guys? So
Plenty of
Yeah,
time
you're
to
right.
ruin 'em.
But nip cow disc, it is a very damaging, very harmful chemical.
Yes.
But used right, it works. And Anthony knew how to use it because he's seen how to use it and talked to him about it.
correct.
if I was just handing it, that's why we don't sell it. It's a liability. I don't want.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just and remember this shouldn't always be your first go-to method on anything and everything.
No.
You shouldn't see, oh, that looks like a water spot. Let's grab the acid.
Yeah,
Go test it out. You know what I mean? Go wipe it with your finger. Go
like
take
you
a
said,
towel to it.
You clayed
know?
it, and it came out really well.
Go grab a piece of clay. See if it'll clay out. If you can do all these other things to, reduce the chance of having to bring that out.
The key is to remove the minerals, folks.
Yeah.
That's what
MDR
you're removing. Whether you remove the etch
conjunction.
or not. Yeah.
MDR in conjunction with polishing is probably your safest combo.
And
it'll still do a really good job. Yeah, it'll take a little more time, but at least you're not tempting fate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If you're not trained in the ways of dealing with acid.
Tim, what's next? What
All
do we
right.
got?
Bring it
All right.
on.
This next comment is from our razor blade video with Ivan.
Ah, okay. All right. So this is from the video When Clay Won't Cut It. This is basically where Ivan was showing us the beauty of using a steel razor blade to decon a hood.
Yeah.
And this comment here is from Brewins, who says there's plastic blades that are a lot better, safer option. Now, we addressed plastic blades in the video, and Ivan made it pretty clear that plastic blades, they sound like they're going to be safer, but because you can't get them as fine as the steel and stuff, you're actually creating more chances that it's going to catch.
Yeah,
and that kind of thing.
you're actually going to scratch the shit out of your
Yeah.
paint.
Yeah.
Sorry to say that. I mean, I've used plastics for years because I didn't know how to do the steel razor blade trick. So, yeah, it is going to be safer, but you are going to mar the surface a lot more.
Yeah, I
Trade-offs.
had one bad experience with the plastic razor blade, and I'm just done with them.
The steel razor thing scares people because, it's steel versus plastic. But really, when it comes down to the effectiveness, having that extra sharpness makes it a safer way to do it. Not less. It's safer.
Well, so, for example, I did one detail one time, and I was out, doing. I was removing some extra glue that was around a seal on a windshield, right? And Dane remembers this conversation I had with him. But basically, they had used this glue to seal this windshield in. It was on glass. This glue was on there. And my first thought was maybe a plastic razor blade lightly just kind of pull some of this glue out, right? Come to find out that was actually scratching the glass. There was some contamination within that glue on top of that razor blade, which just was not cutting it because maybe it was too dull or maybe there was something going on.
Because it was plastic.
And maybe because it was plastic,
it's not sharp
right?
when it's plastic.
Yeah. So
then
what do? I pull out a steel razor blade, which seemed like the
overkill.
The overkill option. Yeah. The
I get it looks scary.
The scarier
it seems scary
option,
compared
and I'm
to
like,
the
I don't know if
alternative.
this is going to do it. Dude pulled out that metal razor blade, cut right through it, didn't put one little mark in the glass.
Well, yeah,
at
and
all.
if you notice on that hood, it didn't damage the hood at all.
No.
And we walk you through the steps to remove those damages. And to your point, Bruins, the best detailers or best paint polishers in the world know how to do this trick
Yeah.
because they don't trust a plastic razor blade.
I'm
Yeah,
sure someone
and-
somewhere has managed
So-
to get a plastic one sharp enough to do it,
No.
but it is not a common thing.
Yeah.
by
No, I've
any
never
means.
gotten a plastic. I used to use plastic all the time, and I never got them.
And I
I-
also want to.
I'm giving the benefit of the doubt, but
No,
really,
there's
the
no
steel,
benefit of the doubt.
steel is going to be the safer choice every time.
It's a safer choice, and if you want to do it, we show you how to do it safely. If
Yeah.
you don't want to do it, that's fine. Don't do it. Use a solvent, use plastic razor blades, whatever you want to do. Just know that you're going to create more work for yourself in the long run.
And
That's all.
in that video, Ivan specifically mentions, because people imagine the steel catching, he specifically rounds off the corners and all that too, so there's no chance.
And in
of
our
it.
detox Facebook page, David Cummings actually takes pictures with his microscope of a razor blade
yeah,
and then shows it before and then after honing, and it's amazing. The surfaces.
there's a difference.
It's really nice.
Thank you, David.
So
Yeah, guys.
All right, next up.
comment here is going back to the water spot removal video.
Back again.
Keep it going.
All right.
Matt Valetto.
Matt Valetto. Someone needs to give you some IGL delete. I feel like polish doesn't remove the mineral that hard water leaves, so I think chemically removing it is important. Correct.
Yes.
Polisher compound, I feel, just smears it around. I could be wrong. Great video as always. So it doesn't just smear it around. What it actually does is it does not remove the mineral itself. So what it does do is it pushes the mineral farther into the clear
You're
coat
chasing them down.
when it causes it to swell. So then when your clear comes back or shrinks back, that water spot reappears. So the key is to remove the mineral itself from the surface. So using, like we said, MDR or even IGL delete, you remove the mineral itself. They are mineral removers.
Chemical removal
So
is
you're
important.
chemically removing, or you're, like we said with the clay, you're helping to break off those minerals and bringing them off, just like on the peaks and valleys like we spoke about.
I think somebody else asked if they could use MDR with like a clay towel or something, if they could do it that way.
You probably
personally
destroy your clay towel.
I was going to say, I don't know how it would interact with the clay. I'd be a little
Yeah.
nervous about that. So polishing with that makes more sense.
But I would clay and then MDR and do that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or even
Okay.
polish with a black foam pad and MDR on a short throw polisher
Yeah.
or
I like
Speed
it.
1. So
All right, Matt. There you go.
Yeah. So another question on that same video here
Man.
for you guys.
What if you got a ceramic coat on it?
Well, actually, if you guys, you can search that.
Basically,
Yeah.
using these different, decon method, water spot removal methods, he's asking, basically, Jose Del Moral here is asking if you have a ceramic coat on your car, what would happen if you did the following methods?
Well, the ceramic coating is going to protect the car and allow that the mineral deposits are going to sit on the ceramic coating.
Yeah.
So MDR works wonderfully for it and isn't going to remove it. Wheel acid works just fine and isn't going to hurt the coating. The clay isn't going to hurt the coating.
Yep.
Vinegar's not going to hurt the coating. What
Compound-
is going to hurt the coating is
compounding,
polishing.
Yeah,
So,
compounding, polishing.
You're removing it.
To remove that, you want to use. I've used MDR for a couple of years for coated cars to remove water spots.
Yeah.
Very simple, very easy to use. In that same sense, you can use acid. Just know that it's caustic
more
and
caustic than MDR. Yeah.
Yep.
it's
And
just most of the hazard to you, not so much the
exactly.
coating.
Yeah. If anything, I mean, try the most minimally,
The least
guess,
aggressive
the
method
least aggressive
first.
method first. Go with vinegar. See if it does
Yeah.
anything. Doesn't
Yeah.
work. Go with clay. Make sure you're using a proper clay lube because you don't want to mar the coating. And then following that, then bump it up to wheel acid, and you can change the dilution of wheel acid
Yeah.
too. And that's another big thing that, especially if you're using that and you're buying it in bulk in a gallon or whatever it is. Like for example, we use 2-to-1. You could, I don't know, go 10-to-1, go 5-to-1. Try to
Don't
go.
use it straight.
Yeah, don't use it straight. Just try to go, your least aggressive method.
Yeah, always dilute it.
then
You don't need it
spray
straight ever.
Spray it on a towel, right? Go test a spot, right? If you see it remove instantly, it's, it's probably working pretty well. If you have to agitate it a bit, then maybe, play around with it. Just, again, don't use it straight. So.
But I saw a lot of people giving MDR a hard time for that, and there's a reason MDR exists, and that's because you don't want to go nuts with the acid on your first time out. So that's basically why it's there. It's a safer way to do it.
You don't want to go nuts with acid your first time out.
That's right.
Hey,
Always have a friend or talk to someone who's
That
used
is
it more than you
sage
have.
advice.
Yeah, do not
Sage
take
advice.
it while on a plane. All right.
Next up.
question.
Yeah, please don't do that.
All right, guys. So we are headed back to the same video. It's a slightly different comment for you,
Man,
though.
it's like that got a lot of comments or something.
It kind of did.
Can these methods be used on auto glass, and will these methods give the same results on glass? Yes and no. Don't use acid on glass.
No.
Unless you are paid a lot of money and you've got insurance to cover the glass that
I was
you're
going
going
to
to
say, and
damage.
you feel like replacing
So,
glass.
how to remove water spots on glass. This is the trick, guys. Get ready for it. You can polish them off. That's the first one. You can use MDR on glass.
Yep, I'm waiting for my favorite one here.
You can use quadruple aught steel wool
Yeah.
with O&R
Yep.
as a lubricant.
Yeah. You can also use soap and water as a lubricant, whatever.
Or
works
soap
best
and
for
water,
you.
whichever one you like. But quadruple aught steel wool is the cheapest, fastest, easiest way to do it. You
Yeah.
literally just cut off a little chunk of steel wool, squirt your lubrication into it, and just
Dude, and it's off
rub it off.
so fast.
Which to somebody who doesn't come from a detailing
steel
background,
wool.
for me, I'm like, oh my God, steel wool. But you know what? It works. I've seen it work.
Quadruple aught means 4
Yeah.
zeros.
Uh-huh.
That's the softest steel wool.
Yep.
For reference too, I mean, if you did hit your paint with it, right? Not gonna put in deep gouges. It's not what's gonna
Yeah.
happen.
You
It
just-
might mar it. You might put.
I always
couple
recommend
swirls
using
into
some
it.
compressed air because then
Yeah.
you can blow the little fibers that land, so you can blow them off the car at least.
But
Lubrication
The
helps.
biggest thing I like about it is it kind of feels like a sponge in your hand,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And what's cool is you can get into intricate areas with it, as long as your fingers can get into those areas as well. So
Yeah, and you can wear rubber gloves so you don't have to worry about slivers and stuff. But
Yeah, I
quadruple
mean-
aught's pretty thin, and it stays together pretty well, so you don't have any issues.
it doesn't,
at all.
won't scratch your windows. It's the same thing with using a razor blade on your windows. I mean, don't go doing this on your tinted windows on the inside.
Don't do it on the inside. On the
Don't
outside.
do it on the inside. The outside's totally fair game. But yeah, that's probably my favorite method. And again, you can try MDR. You can
and
try
it's cheap. You can get them for like $3. You can get a little sack of quadruple aught steel wool, and you only have a little piece that you need.
Yeah, I mean, and you can use, and then what's cool is you can use that steel wool on stainless steel. You can use that on exhaust tips. You can use that on. I would say that any professional detailer will have that steel wool in there.
It's somewhere.
I used to buy it by the roll.
Yeah,
and then I had some shears. We'd cut off a chunk.
Snip.
What you don't want to do is take that steel wool and then put it in with your microfiber towels.
No.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. I've made that mistake. I've done that, and that's not a good idea.
Destroys all of them.
That'll end pretty bad. So what I typically do is I'll get like a little like a Tupperware thing, right? And I'll go from my kitchen, grab one of those, fill it up with some soap and water, put it in there, and it just lives in that for that time that I'm using it. Goes back in. Toss it. I've lost 5 cents, maybe.
Yeah, no, it's not a big expense.
It's amazing and great and wonderful. And honestly, guys, it's the easiest way. Now, the other thing you can do on even harder ones that do not come off with just steel wool and a liquid, you can actually take your rubbing compounds, like Hyper Compound, or even like the Last Cut, squirt some onto the steel wool itself, and use that little sponge and rub with a abrasive compound and the steel wool.
Double trouble.
And that will remove the rest of them. It takes a little elbow grease. Not saying it's great, but usually what I do is if I do a spot and I know I have to use some compound and I rub it a little more, usually what I do before I hit full steel wool, I will stop. I will put some on a cutting pad. I will polish the glass with my 21 or my 15, and then I will finish the edges.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Try and knock down some of the heavy removal. If I've got to use compound, I'm going to just compound the glass.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And then I'll just finish the edges that I didn't want to get around or hit with the polisher. On some of the softer rubber areas, I'll use the steel wool around the edges of the glass.
And the edge work's typically the most tedious part.
Yeah, and it's easier when you're doing hand control.
Yeah.
So.
Nice.
Cool.
All right. Next up, Tim.
Nice, guys. So our final comment, and probably my favorite, comes from our Optimum Detailing Minimalism.
Ooh. Please let Ivan talk. 90% of the time he says, yeah, absolutely, exactly. Rest of the show is, I use this. Why interview the guy when he don't get to talk about his products? Well, Martin Alsvo, you're right. You have some great topics and things for your videos, but these Detox with Ivan is hard to listen to. All the ways you use O&R, talk about it on your podcast. Okay.
We're doing it right now.
Martin.
Appreciate it, Martin.
This is for you, homie. I hope you
understand.
Like this.
I will tell you, Ivan and I have been doing videos a long time, and I know when Ivan is done talking.
Basically, you're helping fill in so there's not an awkward silence.
I am helping fill in those spots for our listeners. And Ivan and I have worked together for a very, very long time. So usually what I say is exactly what he's going to say. So
don't confuse it with Levi interrupting
I'm
Ivan.
not interrupting him.
No.
This is I'm usually finishing the sentence for him, or I know that he's like prompting me. He usually gives me a look that goes, "Okay, your turn."
He's just like, "It's coming next."
Yeah,
but
they go back and forth. I mean, going from the very first videos you guys ever did. I mean, it was a lot of you agreeing because essentially Ivan is trying to not only teach you and his thoughts on this, but he's also teaching the audience.
Exactly.
And so, it's a lot of exactly, precisely, or the only way.
Actually, exactly.
The optimum way.
The optimum way.
Yeah.
Well, and you got to remember, Ivan is he has a lot to say and a lot of knowledge, but a lot of it is very simple knowledge in the sense that he will say, yes.
Because he tries to distill stuff down to a core element.
He makes it so simple that you can understand as the element. And then I try to give an example of how I use that same situation in which he spoke about, which is traditionally how most of us will write or discuss. You give a topic, and then you give an instance of that topic.
Your responses are generally anecdotal, so you're going into it with kind of like slightly more loose approach.
Well, I'm coming from it from the shop that used that system and actually made it work.
You have lived experience, so you're just speaking from that.
Yeah.
Ivan obviously has a lot of lived experience too, but when he's giving the info, he's usually doing it in a way because he's already distilled it down. He's Mr. Efficiency. He's trying to deliver it to you in the most efficient way possible.
Yeah. No, and I think, for the people that haven't ever met Ivan in person, Like, I'll just tell you right now, from my standpoint, I can go up to Ivan and say, hey, man, I have a question on this. So I'll say, Ivan, can you do this with this? And then maybe if I added that into that, what do you think about that? He just says, yes.
Yes.
And I say, so, like, do you want to, like,
and then he smiles wider.
And he's just like,
yes.
Yes. And I say, okay, all right. And I'm like, well,
so trust me, Anthony.
Yeah. And
yes,
he's like,
exactly.
He's like, yes.
He's not going to waste your time. He's never going to waste your time.
And sometimes, like, I understand me being more of like an analytical person. I need like a reason why. Give me the reason why this works. Tell me why, and make me feel good about this reason. Yeah. But if he says yes, he says yes. And if he says no, he'll for sure as hell tell you that he does not agree with a certain method or a certain thing.
And you might want to listen as to why.
There's no, oh, you can maybe do this. He'll say no, or he'll say yes. And when he says no, he'll give you his opinion.
And if he says no, usually my favorite answer of his when he says no, someone goes, well, why not? And he goes, why would you do that?
Yeah.
And it causes you to think, why would I? Why would I do that?
Somebody on the internet said if I do it like this...
why are you listening to them?
Yeah.
Well, if it's not working for you, don't do it.
He says like these very like I don't want to say grandpa like responses, but I'm like
it's very dad-like.
I'm like okay. I'm like shit. I'm like I feel. I feel kind of bad about asking this question now. I'm gonna go back and hang out with mom.
He's got canned wisdom, but it's not like fake canned. It's real canned wisdom. He's just really distilled it.
Yeah. So he'll always be honest with you no matter what. He's not going to fluff you up and feed you lies. That's one cool thing about Ivan. He's always real, 100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I think that's it.
Yeah. I just really wanted to touch on that one because I thought it was so funny. I was like, hey
tell
Levi,
that
be
guy
humble.
With the glasses to shut his mouth.
Which one? There's two of them.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
All right. Well, you know what?
The optimum way. The only way.
So, Tim, that's all we got, huh?
Yep.
All right. Well, I guess that wraps up our show.
Woo!
All right.
So, 2 more weeks till SEMA, guys.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
It's coming fast.
Well, and tomorrow we got our guests coming in.
Tomorrow we got the guests coming in. Saturday we've got our open house here at the Rag Company with PNS, Flex, and Mr. Rennie Doyle. So please come check it out. Maybe we should also stream it live.
Who knows?
Maybe we could do that. Who knows?
Also, keep your eyes out on the Rag Company retail site as well as the Rag Company Instagram because we have a spooky, I don't know what to call
special.
it. Spooky. We got a spooky special. We got something coming up here, which is your chance to get some really cool.
He's been working on this for a while. So.
Limited stuff,
Very
limited
excited.
supply stuff that I think you guys will be pumped about. So by the time you're hearing this, this spooky special will be live. Find it.
People have been asking for this for a while, so if you want it, you better get it because it's not.
You guys are gonna like it.
Yeah, very cool.
Like it.
All right, guys. Well, once again, thank you so much for listening. Comments of the week has been a hit. I love that. And by the way, guys, if you haven't already, I'm going to say it again. Please go over to iTunes, look for the Rag Company podcast, leave us a review because every time somebody leaves a review, that puts us in front of some new people who may discover the podcast. I just discovered that. That's awesome. So if you do the rating and if you leave a review, you'll be my favorite, at least for that hour or that day.
Even better.
We'll see.
You can be Dane's favorite. How great is that going to be?
All right, guys. Well, thanks so much once again, and hopefully we'll catch you next week. Till
right.
then, adios.
See you guys.